This is Your Own Best Company, a podcast for people who love to work alone. Hello, everybody. I'm Franklin Taggart, and this is Your Own Best Company. This is a podcast for people who love working alone. And my guest today is someone that, if you've been following the podcast at all, about a year ago this time, she was my guest, and we were talking about fun stuff. And I invited her to come back now, Monique Eckes.
Hello.
And Monique is a pro pet photographer, and she owns a studio in Fort Collins, Colorado, called Silver Paw Studio. In addition to that, she's a very active social media, YouTube, video person, and her YouTube channel, Pro Pet Photog, has become kind of a go-to for other professional pet photographers. And in the last year, since we last talked, you started kind of a group program or a mastermind of some kind for pet photographers.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot to talk about.
We sure do.
My goodness gracious. So let's close some of the things that we started last year.
Okay.
One of them was that you were getting ready at that time to publish your first book, which was called NoCo for Doggos. All right.
Yes.
Now, NoCo for Doggos was a really cool idea. And basically, you just offered people the opportunity to have their dog featured in a photography collection that you took photos all over northern Colorado in some of the most, scenic places that we have to offer. Now, tell us about how that project ended up for you.
Okay, I can show you.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone watching the podcast, I have the finished book. It came out in November of last year of 2022, and we had a book launch party. It was so amazing. I think there was about 34 dogs that participated in the book, and it's all dog-friendly locations around northern Colorado. What was really interesting, Franklin, is when I started this, I thought this would be a great way to kind of bring the community together on one project that we could all do together, raise funds for the shelters, all that kind of stuff, which worked, right? And also bring me clients, of course.
Yeah.
But it kind of has evolved into even more marketing pieces for me, because this kind of a book is for anyone, not just someone looking for photos or a certain type of dog, things like that. So we ended up making a brochure with all the places as well that I have as a printed version and a PDF version. So that's my opt-in for one of my opt-ins for my email list is now this brochure of dog-friendly locations. It's a great conversation starter. I have loved this so much. We made a little bookmark that goes with it. But the brochure has been so fun. And I ordered a lot of extra books. So I don't have a book plate with me, but I printed a sticker book plate that goes in the cover with a little plastic sleeve that I can put business cards in. And the book plate says, "This book on loan to," from Silver Paw Studio, and all my information. So I'm taking those around to other pet-friendly businesses to have in their lobby.
Oh, great.
With my business card. And, if they want to put up some brochures in a little rat card holder too, I'm slowly rolling that out too. So it's been a really fun project just for my studio for long term as well. Blog posts and YouTube videos, just so much has come out of this book project. It was amazing to the point where I have another book project I'm working on this year.
Wow, that's so exciting. Now the new project, you're getting ready to kind of jump into that. You've been enrolling people to participate. Now this one is fascinating to me because it's about a specific breed. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah. So the new book is called Pity Party, a celebration of pit bull dogs. And I realized how many dogs were pit bull mixes. And especially with all the wisdom panel kind of DNA tests out there, so many people are like, "Oh, I had no idea my dog was part pit bull." But there's also this huge stigma around pit bulls. Like, Denver just recently lifted their breed ban on
Oh,
them.
good. Finally.
Right? Yeah. And so the people, because the shelters are full of pitties and pit bull mixes,
Yeah.
and they can be so sweet and so friendly, just like any dog, just like any dog. I have a tiny little 11-pound poodle. She doesn't like people. She
Yeah.
will lunge at you. I've had a pit bull who was the nicest thing ever. And so I kind of want to like break the stigma a little bit and really show people that you can't just look at a dog and know their breed
Right.
and then just automatically, have thoughts about them. And so I've kind of drawn in those people. It's been so funny because people will email us, my dog is 14% pit bull. Does that count? I said, I am not checking birth certificates here.
Yeah, this isn't AKC certified. Right?
Yeah. So this isn't even relegated just to Colorado or outside. It's studio images on location. I've got 2 sessions in Washington when I go visit Southwest Washington this year.
Yeah.
So it's really just kind of showcasing all of these types of dogs and what people love about them. So it's that party, that celebration. We're going to have some history in there about pit bulls, but also just like, what do people love about their dogs? What are their favorite toys or tricks or nicknames, or why do they think pitties are a great pet? So that's all part of the questionnaire and what's going to go on each dog's spread in the book.
Yeah.
And so this week I'm launching the second run of registrations. So I should fill the book at that point.
Pit bulls do get just such a bad rap and I think it's more about the owners than it is about the dogs. It's like, yeah. And any dog can turn on you. Any dog can be vicious if they're protective, right? It's like dogs are that's a part of their makeup. That's a part of who they are. So poor guys and girls.
And that's a really good point because this is a fundraiser too.
Yeah.
And so my goal is to raise $2,000 specifically for the behavior program at Animal Friends Alliance, because I know that's why they come in and why a lot of dogs are at shelters is behavior issues.
Yeah.
Whether we meant to or not, now they need that help in the shelter. So there is a dedicated behaviorist at Animal Friends Alliance. And so this funds raised from this book project will go all into that fund.
Very good. Very good. So Pity Party book coming up later this year. All right. In the midst of all of this, you moved your studio from Loveland to Fort Collins.
Yeah.
New studio. Tell us about that place.
Okay. So this is a lesson in just talk to everybody, because I've been kind of sort of looking for a new studio for a while for just a variety of reasons. Logistics is a lot of them. And I had talked to a friend who worked at a veterinary office who had just moved out of their space, and their space was just sitting there. And she said, "Oh, it's so sad in there." I said, "I know what would help is pet pictures." And I thought, hold on, maybe they need someone to lease part of the space with them. And so I reached out. It took a few months because veterinary offices are really busy.
Yeah.
And we figured out that I could take about a third of their space. And so that's what I did. And so I'm already a place that people are used to bringing their dogs. It's ground floor, no carpet, super friendly place. All the other businesses around me are nice, huge parking lot, just at the corner of Horsetooth and Shields, right in the heart of Fort Collins. It's been so great. It's quiet. It's bright. I started hosting coffee every single Tuesday morning. As
cool.
I open the studio, 8 to 9, anyone can just stop in with their dog we can sit and chat about whatever you want. And
That's
I have
awesome.
a growing lending library of dog and business books. It's just a great space. So I'm loving it. And I've set specific hours at this one.
Yeah.
I think the other one was just too close to my house. So I would just pop over whenever. But now I'm at this space every Tuesday and every Friday from 8 to 3.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I love the fact that you're opening the doors for, coffee with you on Tuesday mornings. I think that for many of the people who listen to this podcast, that idea is one that I would really encourage people to think about. Because one of the things that folks like us who work alone very often face is just sense of isolation. Sometimes it can get lonely. And I think opening our doors like that, and you can do it in whatever way you're comfortable. I don't actually like having people at my house. I like going out and meeting people for coffee. Like, I'm going to be at this place tomorrow from this time to this time. Come and join me if you'd like to. You know, we can
Yeah,
talk about business or not. Doesn't matter.
right. Totally agree. And that's what
Yeah.
I realized I was missing too. Like I haven't joined another networking group lately, and I am feeling isolated. And I thought, well, maybe other people are too. And those
Yeah.
people who also want to get their dogs out socializing.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
maybe one or two people a week show up, maybe no people. So it's a lot of times very comfortable situation for people who are used to working alone, like
Yeah.
all of your listeners. It's just the two of us, and we just sit in the studio and talk about whatever. I just really like it. And, there's a whole thing now about third places going away. There's not as many third places that
Yeah.
you don't have to pay to go into. So, maybe I could just be that on Tuesday mornings.
Yeah. Well, um, if you're looking for a place in Loveland,
Mm,
I have a place that a lot of people don't associate with that kind of meeting.
uh-huh.
Be Sweet Cupcakes.
Really?
Yes, down on 4th Street.
Okay.
It's a great place to meet. Small little shop, wonderful cupcakes, but they have coffee and beverages and stuff like that too. But
Is
if you're
that on the
looking,
east side of Fourth?
yeah, it's on the
Like
East End.
past
It's
Dark?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's right across from like the East End, and it's
Okay.
almost to the library. So, but what I was
Yeah.
going to say is like if you're looking for a really cool place to meet people just to have a coffee and chat, um, I discovered it and I love it. It's a wonderful spot.
Oh, I've
So,
ordered specialty cupcakes from them. If I have a
yeah,
party and someone's maybe gluten free, you can get those there.
yeah, that's a great
Um,
spot.
yeah. Okay, cool. I'll check it out.
So, getting back to our conversation, last year you were working on a marketing campaign that I was fascinated by, and it was an interesting, intriguing idea of taking portable video players around to different businesses and leaving them there with a short video introducing you and the services that you offer. And you included some candy in the package. I was intrigued by that, but tell me a little bit about where that ended up going for you.
Oh, unfortunately, Franklin, it got put on the back burner with the whole book project.
Okay.
So, because I was so embroiled in the book project, and that was my first book. So, learning all the back end and design and all that took so much time.
Yeah.
And then by then it was, close to the holidays. And then I haven't gone back, honestly. I love the
Yeah.
idea too. Of course, in my mind, I keep thinking I need to refilm the video that I have on the player in my new space.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how much that's excuses to not get out there and do something uncomfortable, and how much is, yeah, I should refresh that and put one idea in there, make it even easier for people to envision this. So I'm kind of contemplating what to do with those now.
Yeah.
I do have them, they're ready. I just need to get out there.
Have you seen the video cards now that are available where you can actually load a video onto a card that fits into a card envelope?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those
Those
are
are
interesting.
those are amazing too. But I like your idea because there's still a physical experience, kind of a tactile experience. Plus, you're putting the candy in there. I don't know. The one thing that always wondered about that was that if it wasn't if it didn't require more labor than I would be willing to put in, and for results that were uncertain. I don't know. Does that sound, I don't know, familiar?
You mean like the time and money it takes to produce these, put them together, and deliver them?
Yeah, you put a lot of time into it, and you were driving them around yourself,
Yeah.
delivering them to each individual business.
Yeah.
And northern Colorado is not a tightly condensed place, so there was an investment of time, especially in that project, and the return again. There was just some uncertainty about whether or not it would actually return what you wanted.
Right. Yeah. And I honestly haven't gathered enough data on that. I haven't delivered it enough. But my thought was I have five of them. I would make a spreadsheet of a lot of veterinary offices. We have so many veterinarians in this area.
I know.
And just make a list, and every, 1 week go out and deliver them, the next week pick them up, the next week deliver them again. So I'd be going out a couple of hours every week to do this, which is time I would normally spend at a general networking meeting.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, I can just show my face in there, because one of the things that I offer also, which I should add to this, is just regular headshots with your pet. And now that I
Yeah.
have an easy way to do that, here's the link. Just come on down with your pet. It takes 15 minutes to the studio in Fort Collins. That's something I need to incorporate in those too. But I don't want to have too many messages.
Yeah.
I want it to be one thing that I want to tell them about, which with the video player should be video.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all good points. But now that I've made the biggest, investment in the equipment, if I go out once a month, I go out once a month. I can
Yeah.
go out twice a month, those kinds of things. But it gives me 2 touch points every time I go,
That's true.
because I
Because you
take them
drop
in
off
and
and
I
pick
have
up.
and I have an appointment card in there saying I will pick this up on this day
Yeah.
at this time. So they know I'm going to be in there twice.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that face to face every time.
And they get to know you.
Yeah.
That's cool. So I still hold out hope that this is a great idea.
Me too.
Although it is, compared to some other things, there's, I think, more labor that goes into it, but hopefully the payoff will be greater.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
that's what we're banking
Right.
on, right?
So producing commercial videos, even if they're short ones, is lucrative for me.
Yeah.
So even if once a month I got a client, it would be totally worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, you've got so many things that you are balancing, so many plates spinning right now. And it seems like to me that you just get more and more visible online everywhere I turn. I find you on TikTok now, and I see Instagram Reels frequently, and I see, I don't pay much attention to Facebook, but you're probably there too. And I know that you're still very active on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So how much of your time are you spending producing videos for all of your channels?
Oh, goodness. Way too much.
Yeah.
But one thing I do is I have an editor for my YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And so if I can streamline the process of filming and pre-editing, like chopping them all up into a timeline for her, and then sending them, I don't have to do the rest of it. She edits the video, uploads it to YouTube for me, and creates the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And so that has been invaluable because I have 2 YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, I don't put a ton of time into, honestly. Like when I'm at the studio, I have this suction cup that goes on the front window that holds my phone.
Yeah.
And so I just come up with like 5 or 10 ideas and step in front of it. I have like a little microphone and just talk about something, and then maybe it's 10 or 20 seconds. And then I do it again, record something on my phone, 10 or 20 seconds. And these are my reels
Yeah.
or / TikToks. So it's really, really fast. And then the next morning while I'm just drinking my coffee and half awake, I can throw those into CapCut and caption them and cut them and put them up.
Okay.
So that is really, really fast. And I don't have a big strategy to social media. I just know I want to put more effort into it.
Yeah.
And I'll also do the same thing with my podcast. So my podcast, I will only do 10 episode seasons, and
Yeah.
then I'll take a break for however long I feel like, and then I'll do 10 episode seasons. But now I'm taking, because on Spotify you can have video podcast,
Yeah.
I will cut those into reels also.
Oh, very cool.
So that helps. So a lot of it is a little bit lazy, but it still works.
Yeah. However it gets done, right?
Yeah. And TikTok really, like if I put something on TikTok for my pet photography business, there is an app that I can download it without the watermark, and that's a reel for my photography business.
Yeah.
My other TikTok is just my random thoughts. That's my only personal, I only have like 2 personal social medias, and that's one of
Yeah.
them. So yeah.
Well, the thing that strikes me is that even your no strategy is really intriguing to me, because you're still using social media in the way that it was intended.
Mm.
And that is that you're just using it to make connections with people.
Yeah.
And I think that honestly, that in my experience, that is the best strategy. If the only agenda is getting out there and making legitimate, authentic connections with folks, you're doing it. Now,
Yeah.
whether or not that leads to them getting pictures with you or buying your book or whatever, that remains to be seen. Maybe it needs to be a part of a larger sequence, but it seems like to me that just the level of visibility that you're achieving is good. Are you satisfied with the number of people who are interacting with your videos?
I think so. You mean if we're looking at each platform?
Yeah.
Yeah, for as little as I put into Instagram, I'm happy for any
Right.
any interaction, honestly. And reels are doing well, so I mean that works. YouTube, my pet photography YouTube, I wish I can get out to more people, and we'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
But I think overall, and I am a little strategic on how I word things, and I teach this too, as if I put something on Facebook, it's gonna have some meaning behind it.
Yeah.
I don't just say, hey, this was a pretty picture of a dog
Right.
and we're done. No, all of my posts have something to do with the person looking at it.
Yeah.
So, hey, this was a magical session at this place you may not know about. Did you know you could take your dog to this place? Isn't that cool? So I've given value back to my people,
Yeah.
told them I know secret places, showed them a pretty picture, and it has all those layers to it, not just here's a pretty picture, because people scroll past those all day.
Yeah.
So I try to think about that in every piece of content I do. I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about them. And so that's how I'm able to make those better connections. When I do a Facebook post that's long, it's like a half a blog post, I get a lot of interaction.
That's good.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people who are on Facebook are they're still trying to make it work the way that it did 7 years ago, where you could put up a picture or you could put up a text post and a fair number of people would see it and interact with it. And now it really has to cut through a lot more noise in order for people to notice it and then to watch enough of it or read enough of it to bring around an interaction. So if you're able to get that to happen, you're doing wonderful things. That's very encouraging.
It's like everything else. That first line has to hook them. If you can put an emoji in there, make it kind of intriguing, that does it every time.
Yeah. Before we go any more forward, I'd like to go back to the idea that you did with the NoCo for Doggos book. And the two or three things that you mentioned there. We've had conversations about something that I call fridge-worthy freebies.
Yeah.
And those examples are really perfect examples of what a fridge-worthy freebie is. It's something that's valuable information that people want to hold on to, but it keeps your brand in front of them, on an ongoing basis. And it's something that they have a positive association with in their mind. Can you talk a little bit about the location guide in particular? I'm intrigued by that. And was that just something where you realized as you went through the book and the editing that you were doing, hey, wait a minute, this could be interesting just as a list?
Yes. Yeah. So with my book projects, I have a designer. My sister is the graphic designer for the book. And when I was going through it, that's exactly what I thought. Like, these are all great locations that everybody should know about. Oh, this would be a great freebie, like Franklin talks about. And she's like, oh, I could design that. So I gave her some ideas of how I wanted it laid out. And I thought in my mind, what I pictured was people keeping this in their car.
Yeah.
So this would be really valuable to keep in your car. Okay, I've got an afternoon with my dog. Where should I go? Even if you're just visiting from out of town. And it's been so great. People are like, oh my gosh, thank you. I was part of the Elizabeth Hotel when they had their yappy hours, their dog days back
Yeah.
in February. And so I hosted one of those, and it was so fun. It was so cool. And I just gathered up all of these brochures of where to go and just went around the room. Here you go. Oh, you're in town visiting. You're new to the area. Look at here's some cool places. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. I was just thinking about that. So they're going to keep that with them next time they're in Fort Collins or as they settle in. And so that's what I was kind of thinking about is what I want them to get out of this and where's it going to be? I want it in their hand, in their purse, in their dog bag, in their car. And it has obviously all the pictures from the book too.
You just brought up an intriguing possibility for a
Mm.
marketing idea. And that is like you could have a rack card for the tourism places around town
Ooh.
and to say, are you visiting Northern Colorado with your pet? Would you like to have a picture taken to remember that?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right?
Yeah, I have a display up at Wags in Old Town.
Okay, very cool.
And so that helps with some of the people that are in town. And I've
Yeah.
gotten calls from that display. Hey, I'm in
Excellent.
town for a few days. What can we do?
But wouldn't it be
So
fun
that would be
for
easier.
people who are coming through town, for tourism to
Yeah.
to get their pictures taken with their pets in some of these beautiful Colorado places, right?
Yeah, there is actually that visitor center in the square. I wonder if they would be willing to put my brochure in there. Oh,
I'm
good
sure that the
idea.
one I'm sure that the one in Loveland, out at the Loveland Chamber, they've
Yes.
they've got rack cards like that.
Okay, I'll go down there.
But that would be a cool thing to offer.
Yeah.
But and then you also did something of as a bookmark.
Oh, yeah. So for everyone who bought the book, and
Yeah,
I could change this if I wanted to, but we just put together a really pretty little business bookmark that has a quote. Wild hearts find a home in every place they roam. And
yeah,
it's really pretty. It's got the same colors and all of my contact information on the back
yeah.
with a teeny tiny QR code, but that works. So I definitely plan on doing something similar to that for the next book, too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, people have heard me talk about fridge-worthy freebies, but you've given us some really fine examples here of putting things in people's hands
Hmm.
that are valuable on an ongoing basis, that are useful, and that they will refer to over and over and over again. It's more than just a stress ball or a calendar that you're offering in the swag bag. It's
Hmm.
something that they actually can get some great use out of.
Hmm.
What One of the other things that you've done recently, and we just spoke about it last week, was you have started to venture into the artificial intelligence chat GPT realm to help you generate ideas. Can you give us kind of an update on what you've been experimenting with?
Okay, so a lot of what I use ChatGPT for is to help me with my YouTube titles,
Yeah,
honestly. So I'd spend a lot of time trying to craft a good YouTube title, but it's good for all kinds of things, right?
yeah.
And so you want me to give the specific example from last week, right?
I think it's a
Yeah.
great one. Yeah,
Okay. So do I. So Franklin was awesome and came to my group, which we'll talk about. And we talked about some ideas for pet photographers. And during that, I had my notebook next to me, just writing all kinds of notes. I said, ding, what is one thing all pet people talk about? The bond we have with our pets. Okay, but what if we only have 1 minute to spend with them? What can we do with our pet to enhance that bond in 1 minute? And I thought, okay, I can write this list, but let me see what ChatGPT would come up with. And so I went over to ChatGPT and actually I put in like 1 minute things to do with your dog, 1 minute things to do with your cats. And there were some similarities, but I didn't want to sort through it. So then I scrapped that and I said 1 minute activities for dogs or cats.
yeah.
And I took out anything I thought was dangerous or repetitive. And then of course, I put in selfies.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, here's 20 things. And bam, just like that, I read them all. I'm like, that's what I would have written, but it would have taken me half the day. Thank you, Chat GPT. Threw that into a list in Canva with some pretty pictures of dogs that I have, my contact information. And a day later, I had that ready to go in my weekly newsletter. Here you go. And I put it up on Facebook. Here you go. as like a 5x7. And so
Yeah.
my thought is to have the other side be some pretty pictures too that I can print to hand
Yeah.
out to people as well. So I just haven't gotten that far, but it is a downloadable, again, fridge worthy, right?
Yeah.
So I told them specifically, here is a list of 20 things. If you have 1 minute, put it on your fridge, put it on your desk, put it on your mirror. I said, this is what you should do with it.
Yeah.
Next time you have 1 minute, just glance at it and do that thing with your dog or cat.
Yeah. And the pictures on the other side would be very interesting to remind people of times that they may not think of that would be great times to get a picture of their pet.
Mm.
I think that's one of the things with pets that we kind of take for granted is that we get so used to them being around that we forget, this person's not going to be a part of my life forever.
Yeah.
This person is, and I want to remember this person at their best. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
if we can put that suggestion in those photos on the other side, I think that
Mm-hmm.
would be really cool.
Good idea. I love it.
So your YouTube channel, the Pro Pet Photog channel. Now, are
Mm-hmm.
you and Steve still doing your channel, or have you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Our wildlife and nature photography channel is going crazy.
Wow, that's
It's
awesome.
really doing well. It's been monetized already. It's going great.
Super.
Yeah.
But the Pro Pet Photog channel
Mm-hmm.
has really it's kind of turned into a cornerstone for you online as a reliable place for people to find you, but it's also just an extraordinarily valuable place for anyone who wants information about pet photography and the business of pet photography. That's one of the things that I really like about it is that it's kind of balanced between the craft of photography and the business of photography.
Exactly.
You cover both. That has grown into a group opportunity. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. When I first started pet photography on YouTube, I really literally looked everywhere and there was nobody else teaching pet photography. So then I just kind of started and floundered through the first year.
Yeah,
And then the pandemic hit and people were like, oh, well, if I'm going to pivot, maybe pet photography, tell me more about the business, tell me more about how you run this. And I thought, okay, well, sure, I can do that. Started a Facebook group. And eventually, like a year after that, I said, hey, I could just start I have made courses and resources and Canva templates over the years, and they're just everywhere, Skillshare and whatever. Why
yeah,
don't I just make a website and put that all together? And so then I did that. And then it has the website I'm on, Podia. They have an option for a membership. And so I put out kind of a general membership, and it was just kind of here, we'll just get together once a month and talk about general. And it didn't gain any traction because there was no content to it. It was like,
yeah,
here, let's just show up and chit chat. Well, I do that on YouTube Live. So
yeah,
why would I do that? And so then last year, a friend of mine and I said, let's have like a 2-day retreat that we just sit together and work together. We ended up actually just going in a coffee shop. But everything for the entire year of content I wrote in 2 days. I could not believe it, Franklin.
yeah,
I'm like, this is it. This is my membership for the entire next year. And that was July of last year.
yeah,
So I knew 6 months in advance what I was going to teach this entire year. And I looked at it and I said, this is exactly the phases my business goes through. The first part of the year, we're relooking at our products and our prices and all of that kind of stuff. The second part, we're like getting into our marketing, which you helped with. Thank you. And then, the next part is, I'm going to have this year, I'm having an in-person workshop for members in
yeah,
August. And then we're going to finally talk about gear and photography during the time of year where people are probably busier in the fall when they have more clients or whoever to photograph and
yeah.
try out these things. And so I wrote out the entire thing. Some of the classes were written completely in that day, a year in advance.
Wow.
So then when I went to start marketing this, I knew what to tell people to expect.
Yeah,
We're going to have a class once a month and we're going to have a coaching meeting once a month. And it's going to be on Zoom. It's going to be in the evenings because so many people are doing this as a side hustle or they're just starting. They can
yeah,
only do evenings. And so that's what I decided to do. And I started with a whole week of marketing on YouTube. And, so we talked all about different marketing live every single day. I gave a class and I said, this is exactly what you're going to get in the membership. You're going to get a class, you're going to get Q&A, just like this. So I make a presentation in Canva, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so I've got 6 or 8 people in there right now. Not everyone shows up to the class, of course, because again, they are working full time, a lot of them. So, but I record the class so they can go watch that. Now, I do not record the coaching calls. They just have to be there for that.
Yeah.
But that has been so wonderful because I've wanted to be a teacher of some kind. Clearly, all the things that I do for so much of my life. And this fills that for me. And I feel like I can give so much to other pet photographers, where most of the classes out there for photographers are how to make prettier pictures.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we know how to do that. We're constantly like, oh, I think I need prettier pictures. No, you need to do the back end. I'll help you with that.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Monique, you are the shining example of the creative person who is really building. I don't want to say it's an empire, but you're building a really amazing organization, and you're basically building it yourself. It's like you do have a little bit of help here and there, and you hire out what you need to hire out, but the bulk of this is being created starting in your imagination, and then your legs are doing the majority of the work.
Yeah.
So the thing that I want people to understand is that let's count the streams, right? Monique is making money from her pet photography studio. Yes, she is taking pictures. That's good. All right, that's one stream. Now the book is more of a fundraiser. Are you making anything on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Because they'll order prints from the photo sessions.
Oh, okay.
So we'll include everybody in the family, but only the dog goes in the book.
All right. So the book is generating income as well.
Oh, yes.
All right. And now the Pity Party book will generate income as well.
Yes.
You are doing the YouTube channels, which are both monetized now.
The one
is.
Right?
Oh, only the one is. Okay. Yeah. You're still working on Pet Photog being monetized?
Yeah.
But you're close. You're very close. And let's see if we can push her over the edge. It's those watch hours. Oh, I know. Those watch hours are pesky.
Yes.
Okay.
But I do make money through the membership, through YouTube.
Yeah.
Because YouTube's my main marketing for the membership and the courses and the resources.
All right. So the membership is another stream. And then you've got, you've got your video production.
Yep.
You've got, so many different ways that you're generating income through your business. And you never seem to run out of ideas. Maybe you just run out of time.
Yes, that is exactly it.
Okay. So what would you say to somebody who's just getting started? Where would you encourage them to spend most of their time right now?
You mean as far as marketing, or?
No, just in terms of just having a business. It's like if you are just getting started in pet photography, where would you encourage people to really focus most of their time right now?
If someone's just starting with their pet photography, they set a date for when you want your doors to open and pretend it's a movie premiere.
Yeah.
Because what happens so often is people say, I don't want to tell anyone yet because my doors aren't open. I said, that's not how movies do it. A year in advance, movies are telling you it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Here's all this juicy tidbits. Here's some sneak peeks. You need to do that for your business. Start marketing the second you get your business license, your logo, or whatever. Don't spend a ton of time on your website. Spend some, but you can iterate as you go. Everything you can iterate as you go. Try not to hold yourself back. Set a goal for this many, test clients and keep it at that, and then open the doors.
Perfect.
Make a minimal price sheet, open the doors. You can change this all later. You're probably, if you think you're 70% ready, you're probably 100% ready.
Yeah.
Your pictures are probably amazing. They will grow over time. Don't let your picture quality hold you back if you're a pet photographer. Yeah. I'm sure they're awesome.
Very good.
Work on the back end. Go.
In your own experience, what's the most important lesson that you've learned about marketing?
The most important lesson, I think, is to make it, I quote you constantly, that the most personal is the most universal.
Yeah.
And I say, Franklin Taggart says this, and it's absolutely true. People will follow values.
Yeah.
Put out what you value, and that will find the other people that value that. So when you're posting social media, make it a little bit more vulnerable than you think. Make it a little more personable even.
Yeah.
And I always say, be interested more than interesting. Be interested in those people and what they need and what they want and what they dream of, more than you talking about yourself.
Well, that's wonderful. And thanks for the tip of the hat.
Of course.
Feels nice. Well, Monique, what's next for you? We've got the Pitbull project coming up soon, and the registration is going to be closing for that, probably even before this podcast is released. But beyond that, what's next?
So what's next for me is just, I have a list of things that I'm launching this year for my business. I just don't want to launch everything all at once.
Yeah.
And so one of the things will be, if you have adopted a pet in the last 30 days, I'll have a special session for that in the studio. One thing I'm letting businesses know, that if they're going through a growth spurt or they have a lot of turnover, is I now have retainers.
Yeah.
And so if you think you're going to have 50 people to photograph this year, just pay me a monthly and just, here's your link. They can come on down whenever. And so people are really liking that.
Wow.
And there's no interest to that. There's no major setup. Same for clients. If they want this big order, there's payment plans with no interest.
Very cool.
So I have some of these. And then the other thing I'd really like to do with the community is have little community events at the studio, a few times a year. Maybe have one of those plantiness parties where we paint our pot in memory of a dog that we've lost. We plant a plant in there, or just have something that's unrelated to photography that people can gather together in small groups at my new space. So that's something I want to work on this year too.
So what's your go-to organizing tool?
Like a CRM?
No, just any way that you stay organized, because you are holding so many things up. I'm just wondering, what is the tool that's underneath all of this?
Well, Google.
All right.
I have a lot of Google folders.
Okay.
And so as I gather information for the book, I'm putting it in a shared folder with my designer, my sister.
Yeah.
And I have a giant whiteboard here with the pillars of my business that I work on. And so what am I working on this month, and kind of work on that. And then to organize my business, I have 17 Hats, which is a project management. So between kind of Google and 17 Hats and my whiteboard, all of that kind of works together. And outer accountability is big for me. So if I tell my video editor I'm going to have a video or photos or something to you, I get them to them. So there's that.
Great.
And Frank, my assistant at sessions, he keeps me organized at the session.
Oh, very cool.
So that's been really helpful. Where's the squeaky? It's in my pocket. Just little things like that, where if you don't have that right there, you miss the image. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Monique, you always are inspiring to me. You always have such great energy and fun ideas. And as always, I just wish you the greatest success.
Oh, thank you. Is our time up already, Franklin? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Oh my gosh. I can't believe it, but we've reached the end of yet another episode, but you'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah. This is always fun. I love talking with you.
Awesome. Folks, if you want to find out about Monique, there are a couple of websites that I'll mention. Kind of her permanent address is silverpawstudio.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, if you were interested in the pro pet photography, is it propetphotogs.com?
Propetphotog.com.
No S. Okay. No S. Propetphotog.com. Yeah. For those of you who are watching, those should be on the screen throughout the whole episode. If you can't find them there, you will be able to find them in the description. Thanks as always for listening to Your Own Best Company. I appreciate it when you subscribe, review, and share this show with other people. Monique, I can't wait to see you again.
All right. Thanks, Franklin.
Thanks for listening to Your Own Best Company. If you enjoyed the show, would you do me a favor and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast host? If you really love it, leave me a review or share it with your circles. If you feel like your career is reaching a dead end, or you're feeling a deep sense of dissatisfaction in your work right now, I help people discover their gifts and then find or create new opportunities that are the best fit for their talent, experience, and lifestyle. Email me at coaching@franklintaggart.com for more information. I also help people start, finish, and launch creative projects, and I offer an ongoing marketing mastermind for solopreneurs and freelancers. More information on these programs and services can be found at franklintaggart.com. Thanks again for spending this time with me.